Hey everybody, it's Tony and Reggie from the Heroes Unheard podcast coming at you again from this Voice 17104 studio. Glad to have you here. We have a special guest in the house as well. We have Mike. And we'll talk a little bit about Mike here in a minute. But Reggie, how you feeling? It's been a little while since we checked in with the crowd.
Energetic.
You look it.
I am feeling real energetic right now.
Yeah, what about?
What about? Well, let me tell you what I'm feeling energetic about. I'm looking at what we see, the positive things that's going on in the community and the feedback we're actually getting from the podcast and the word that's getting out there on the streets. And I'm also seeing, a little bit of upbeat from you today.
From me?
Yes, you and your gray.
My gray.
I'm not going to, you like the gray.
I'm neutral. I don't pick sides.
Okay, Ally.
All right, let's get to it. We're super excited to, one of the things we did after we recapped our launch party, right, which was a fantastic success.
Yes.
Continuing to meet with folks that joined us there, and that's been fantastic. Just a reminder, a lot of our some folks have been ducking over to Billy at the 611 Collective for our special band on the cigars. So that's still going on. If you stop over at see Billy in Mechanicsburg at the 611 Collective. We still have some of our event cigar bands in this humidor, and again, sales of that go as a donation to the foundation, so that's super great. But just hearing tons of really successful stuff. I'm still seeing cigars floating around.
Yes.
In certain circles as we're hanging out with some folks. I still
So I
see
got
them
the other
popping
night
out.
smoking one in the lounge.
Yeah, and it's just still having a lot of really great feedback and a
Yes.
lot of really great conversation, and so it's really been awesome. And so today, what I'm super excited to have Mike on with us is because we have an opportunity to continue some of the boots on the ground kind of stuff, right? So we're going to have some great, hopefully, conversation today about what's out there for some folks, continued way to get help, and then we have a couple of announcements and a couple of things we've got going on. That's again putting some of those donations to work here in the local community and making a real difference. And so we look forward to wrapping up today with some updates and some announcements and some things that we've been doing behind the scenes. So without any further ado, Mike, veteran.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we got Mike. He's
I consider him one of my friends.
There you go. Considered. I don't know if it's mutual,
Considered.
but it's
Yeah.
I would, I'd agree with that, Reggie.
okay. It's touch and go from time to time, but
That's what friendship is about.
here we go.
You
Yeah.
got to keep it real,
Yeah, so former veteran, right, with experience in various different agencies
Yep,
and various
yep,
different
yep,
capacities,
yep.
supporting some vets. So
So,
tell us a
yeah.
little bit about yourself.
So, about me, I'm a veteran. I spent 2 tours in Iraq. I was a Army medic with the Pennsylvania National Guard. Deployed in 2005, 2006, and again in 2009, and I joined the Guard in 2000 and retired in 2020. So
Yes.
did that gig for a while. I'm also married to a veteran, so my wife Lauren, she's an Army medic as well. She did a tour in Iraq from 2005 to 2006. So I mean that's just especially when you talk to people, that's like a part of who I am, right? Because that's I'm much, you can be much more than that. A dad of two lovely daughters, a son, a brother, all these different, identities that you have. But the one, I think one that usually is, sticks out, and it's one that I don't go a day without really remembering, is the fact that, hey, you were in the Army at one point. Not a lot of people will see that, especially as you get older. But, there's certain things that still stick with you. So that's kind of that.
Now,
Yeah,
Lauren's
so-
doing social work, your wife, right now, right?
Yep. She went back to school, and she got her master's in social work. So now
Yes.
she's working as she's a social worker working for one of the hospitals doing
You're in trouble when you get home. You are in
She
trouble.
does work. She does work.
Hopefully
She's
she's
in the
busy
field.
and she's
It's
not
case-
watching
case-
this.
Case manager.
Well, she probably
Lauren,
is.
I'm
She's probably
sorry.
typing it right now. She's like, "What the heck? What do you mean you don't know what I do? I know exactly what you do."
Just throw that curveball like that.
Yeah, I know. I'm not here to talk about Lauren. I'm talking about
Yeah, you're
whatever.
about to have another war.
Yeah, I know.
Really just want to get home.
She does case management for folks that are discharging out of the hospital to personal care homes or nursing homes, things like that. Trying to get them back back to where they need to be. So, and I think that's just a kind of a common theme from honestly what I think of. A lot of I think maybe especially medics from the Army, kind of take that on a little bit more. They see just that service mindset in whatever kind of job they do, and I think just broadly in the veteran community as well.
Well, that's what I wanted to acknowledge about you being a guest today, right? So your service to the country and your service to the community didn't stop, with your service in the military.
Right.
Afterwards, you've taken on many roles to continue to
Sure,
support
yeah.
country through our veterans community.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about those ventures.
So some of the things I was very lucky to get a job with VA for a while, working at the Harrisburg Vet Center, which is just a couple blocks away. And so with that's a specialty program of the VA that provides counseling services to combat theater veterans and their families, survivors of military sexual trauma, and bereavement counseling to the families of anybody who passed away while on active duty. And then over the years, they've opened that up to reserve and National Guard service members that, while they're not deployed to a combat zone, were sent to humanitarian missions or state active duty. So responding to floods and things like that. And a lot of that was, I think, in response to folks experiences with, going all the way back to 2005 and Katrina and dealing with that devastation that was down in Louisiana, and then wildfires and floods and things like that, so that they recognize that there's a need for that type of counseling and a place to go and talk that has that understands a bit more about what that means to have served in the military. So that there's not the barrier that's usually there with having to explain what your rank was, or what MOS means, or what MRE is, or things like that.
Yeah.
They can just
That camaraderie
let it
is
go.
there, and they
Yeah.
already know. You walk
Right.
in there, hey, you were in the military? Okay, great. What was your job? What's your MOS? Those acronyms and stuff like that, they come fly off the top when you're in that culture.
Right.
We are a subculture.
Right.
We're a special
Right.
breed.
Yeah. Well, you certainly are. Right.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the reality.
One
Yes,
of them
we are.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And that's and that's a good thing, but sometimes we are definitely a subculture.
Yes.
And it is very specialized, and that's it can be a good thing and a bad thing, because I think a lot of times we fall into the rut of, well, nobody else could possibly understand what I'm going through, so that I'm not going to talk to anybody, and I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to complain about it, or I'm not going to do anything about it, and I'm just going to sit here and ruminate, and that doesn't do anybody any good.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons that I really enjoyed working at the vet center, was to say, I understand, but right there with you, guy. There's folks here. Well, they would understand. I'm like, well, at the time, there's 3 counselors here that are Vietnam veterans. If anybody's going to understand what you went through in Iraq and Afghanistan, they're going to have an idea of what that means. So we're able to break that barrier to to somebody being reticent of reaching out or talking to somebody.
Yeah, as being somebody on the other side, having my own clinic and whatnot, having that connection feels so great. And I actually share with them as well, vets and first responders alike, that I even so far as understand the not wanting to get help part. Because
Sure.
part of my story is I self-imploded, right? And just simply based on some of the things you said, no one's gonna understand. I'm just complaining, I don't even want to bother anybody with what I'm going
Right.
through. I should be able to this, I should be able to do that. And it came to a point where I couldn't, right? So I even go so far as being able to, and probably most of us that are supporting vets and first responders in some regards probably can also share. I also know what it feels like to not want to do this,
Right,
And
right.
I'm just here to show or to share with you that if you're able to push through that, right, there is hope on the other side.
Right.
So I think that's pretty phenomenal.
Right, and you know, it's funny because just that same thing of saying, you know, I don't want to reach out for help because nobody's going to understand me, nobody's going to get what I'm saying or things like that. But then also the very real thing of, well, like I kind of like I chose this. Like,
Yes.
nobody forced me to join the Army. You know, nobody forces you to go be a police officer or, you know, a firefighter, paramedic, or, you know, that's, you know, what you feel as a, you know, I think that's something that you feel as a calling. You feel that as a vocation, really, that you want to go and do this. And then when you have issues that stem from that service, either, you know, through military service or, you know, being, you know, in EMS or something like that, you start to question yourself of like, am I not strong enough for this? Am I not, you know, do I not have what it takes? You know, did I make a wrong choice? You know, am I a failure just all around because now I'm not sure about my job? You know, things like that.
Yeah.
And I think those are all very, they're valid feelings. But I think those are also the times where it's like, you know, it's like when you have a question of am I, you know, adequate enough? Well, I think that shows that you have an idea of what it means to be that way. So just that questioning of yourself, yes, this is exactly where you should be. And then take that to, you know, as a sign of strength to know that this is my weak spot.
I think I'm really glad that you brought that up because that's a lot of the conversations I have when I meet with vets, right? Is that we have to shift that definition. Mm-hmm. And if we shift the definition as if we hold on to what trust me, there's enough Facebook, social media, and people that are telling us that we're weak for not being able to do this. And this is just our job, so you do just have to deal with it. Yep. And, you know, I get it. We did sign up for some of this stuff, but that doesn't make us superhuman in some sense. But to define weakness as needing help, right? Well, for sure, that's definitely going to do it. But if we can change that as a strength, being able to identify that we need it and ask for it, that's the true strength. Because I find that if we can do that, we can stay on track to continue to do the things that we want to do, right? We could possibly stay in and have a longer career in the military. Yep. Or stay on the force or the departments and fire longer, or and serve our communities longer. It's by not asking that we become ineffective, we become dangerous, and we might even end a career short because it's having that impact. Then we lose relationships, we see the increase in substance use, right? And for some, they make that ultimate decision because this life just becomes unbearable, which is also understandable when you're struggling that much. So again, I'm not calling anybody weak, you know, to not ask and not identify and not have the tools to get stronger may be a better way, a different way of defining what true weakness is, and being able to acknowledge I need help and I can be stronger and I reach for those tools is the real strength here. So I'm glad you brought that up, and that's a conversation we have to talk a lot about people, so that we're not weak by asking for help. We actually become stronger because then we can do what we need to do to keep doing things we want in our life.
Exactly. And I get, you know, a lot of times folks are, well, who do I turn to? where do I go? Where do I, you know, who's that, you know, first call that I, you know, make or whatever.
And I think that's that, Reggie, you know, please speak up. You know, I think that's one of the things we're trying to do here, right? When
it is.
When people are like, okay, now I am kind of ready to ask for help. Now what?
How do I get it?
There are a tremendous amount of people that understand, right? They're hidden. Some are bigger, right? We have the big ones like, you know, the vet center. And to be honest with you, a lot of people know about the VA, but a lot of people don't know about the vet center.
Right, yeah.
Which is its own, it's connected, but its own little thing too, right?
Like, the vet center, it started in response to the Vietnam War. So it really came around and became a VA program in like 1979.
Oh wow!
And the idea was that they were not located in the medical centers; that they were supposed to be community based. So this is even before they really had like community clinics for the VA. Mm-hmm. So they were spread throughout the country, and it was supposed to be a temporary program just to be out there, get the word out, and get people to come into VA. Well, that part of the temporary and and just to get them to kind of filter them in the VA. They got them in the door of the vet center, and then they kept coming back to the vet center because they were staffed by Vietnam veterans that understood.
Again, that camaraderie is there.
Exactly.
They have to understand. A lot of people don't want the stigmatism of saying, I'm going to the VA, because a lot of people sit there and see the VA and say, okay, I'm not going there because I have bad knees, bad legs. A lot of people see it as just saying, I'm going to the VA because I got mental issues. They don't want that stigmatism there.
Right.
So if I can separate myself from there and go to that other adjunct facility where I don't have to reopen the scabs.
Yep.
I've already talked about it with you. Why do I talk about it with somebody that's going to stay right here where I'm at and comfortable? The program is awesome out there. It really is. It gives a lot back to the actual veterans that need.
Yeah, I had a chance to meet last week or the week prior, where I was down there in a separate venture that I do. Not to get into that conversation today. We hope in the future to have a podcast episode around psychedelic medicine with veterans and PTSD. And Rick or Rich, who runs the center.
Oh yeah.
Was it
Rick.
Rick. Okay. Yeah, Rick invited us down, myself and someone else on the Psychedelic Society here in Central Pennsylvania, just to have a conversation and let them know who we are and what we do. And,
Sure.
And this doing a staff meeting, and so I had a chance to sit with the staff down there at the vet center. Super great, phenomenal folks.
And it's not a clinical setting.
No, it's
You know,
super
I think
chill.
A lot of times, people think it's like, oh, I'm going to go talk to somebody. It's going to be real,
vanilla.
Yeah,
Very-
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I'm
Hospital,
going to
bright
lay on a couch and someone's going to ask me about my dream or whatever. And it's like, nah, that's not. First of all, that's not what therapy.
Bright lights, bare walls.
That's not what that place is.
No, it's super
and that's
cool.
not what. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
So to me, it is one of the best kept. Sometimes it's like the best kept secret.
It is.
Of
It really
VA.
is.
And part of that is it's a very unique and specific mission.
Sure.
But but just getting out there and letting people know that hey, this is one of the places that you can go to for if you want to talk that type of business. But I think just also in general, it's just being around other veterans and just people that have that kind of that shared experience. Sometimes you don't got to talk about it, but because you're just in the same room, you just feel comfortable that you can be not necessarily on guard all the time.
And they have groups down through the vet center too, right? Are they support groups or are they?
Yeah.
groups?
Yep. They got individual counseling, group counseling, things like that.
So there's an opportunity for
for
peers
camaraderie.
supporting
Yep.
peers.
Exactly. And they, I know that they've worked in the past with some like trout fishing competitions, things like that.
Sure.
Like all sorts of different things. So it's just veteran related, and you're going out and you're just
Recreational therapy.
just right. Yeah, and it's and that's the term for it, but. You go and it's just like you're just a bunch of guys going out, or a bunch of veterans going for a hike. You know what I mean? Like things like that. And it's just time to say, okay, here you are, and you just sit, walking and talking, smoking and joking kind of thing. And I think that then helps ease into you can just do that just in general to go out and find something that you still like to do or to rekindle. A hobby that you used to have that you don't do anymore, which is a feature of, depression and PTSD, things like that. But, to start that and say, I do really like going fishing. Well,
I enjoy it, and that's the thing. A lot of people sit back and they say, hey, I did the military, 20, 30 years, great. They had a life prior to that.
Right.
And now they got to come back and reinvent themselves.
Right.
And they're carrying a lot of baggage that they really didn't have prior to joining the military. Where do you unload that baggage on?
Right, yeah. Well, you can just keep it loaded in your duffel bag and put it in your attic and just leave it there.
And sooner or later, guess what? You keep throwing this stuff in there, that bag is going to explode.
Yeah, exactly.
And we don't want it to explode in a negative way. So we need to let these people know there are
Right.
ways to sit there and get help. There are people that you can sit there and talk to. And Mike will sit there and tell you, he's walked into my office new days, and I just didn't care. I was explosive.
Yeah.
they would sit there and say, "Man, you might want to go talk to somebody. You need some help."
I still think you should talk to somebody.
I do. My therapist is good.
I'm
This
saying.
week, I honestly had to get talked off the ledge just this week here.
I'm glad we brought this up though, because I just wrote this down on my phone because I had a reminder, something maybe we can do. So I know
Yes.
a few folks in different regards that are more on the recreational therapy side.
Yes.
And we don't really even want to call it therapy, right? There's one, and I got to reach out to them and see if it's okay to talk about them. But I know one's very female veteran based, right? So it's a safe space for them, especially when we talk about military sexual trauma and things like that.
Yes.
But it's all about off-roading, like vehicles and camaraderie through that. I know another organization that we said takes them on chartered fishing trips and hunting trips, again, as groups. So I'm going to reach out to them and see if maybe we can pull them in a future episode, because I do believe that while we talk about things, which we do need, right, sometimes you can talk about it too much. I really do believe that, right? I've really seen throughout my career of, you're going to this group, you're going to this individual therapist. We see this in substance use, right? I had a client very early on in my career, that did all the meetings, went to all the therapies, did all of the, the drug tests that they're supposed to, and eventually relapsed because she's like, I can never stop thinking about it. I'm just constantly talking about it. It's constantly on the surface. And I was like, maybe sometimes we do. Sometimes we just need to be around like-minded folks that can support us, and if we need to lean on them, but maybe just remember that there's joyful things out in the world too.
Yes.
And we got to recreate positive experiences with people that we trust. And so I think these recreational groups do that, right? We trust these people, like you said. I don't have to be super on guard, right? But at the same time, we don't have to talk about this either, right? We are just the things I used to enjoy doing before I got into my surface, or before I started having difficulties with whatever, baggage that I'm carrying. Thank you for, I jotted that down for some exposure, maybe some of those groups, that folks that are looking to get out and about, get out of home, get out of that isolation, right? Get away from some of those types of things and get out there, especially as the weather's breaking, with some like-minded folks. So more to come on that. We'll make sure we do some due diligence on that one, Reggie. Fantastic. Yeah, so how about anything else you'd like to share about, specifically the crossroads of your personal journey and then what you've done professionally? I think it's fantastic, what you've been able to share so far.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is, for me personally, I deployed, I joined the Guard, I was a senior in high school. So, like, my entire adult life and military life were, like, really intertwined. I married a fellow service member and a veteran. Like, everything about it is. And for a while, you're absolutely right. Like, when it's like, it's too much, because then it's like you're wrapped up in everything. It's like, so I can totally identify with that, because it's like, oh, there's Mike. He's the guy that works at for veterans. He is a veteran. He's married to a veteran. He is in the Guard. He's all this kind of stuff. It's like, well, who is Mike Volz?
Yes.
Like, who, so a lot of time, and that just, takes time. So that's one of the things, and I say, I'm a dad to 2 daughters, and my youngest she'll be 10 next month. She barely remembers, like, me having to go away for, like, Army things. Mm-hmm. And that's I think that's pretty cool, because she just like, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah, I remember that. You were, Now, my 14-year-old, she's a little different. She's been around a little bit longer and knows more.
Yes.
But even then, like, she's like, Dad, you remember when you had to do this? And she remembers some of the good times, and she also remembers, like, getting on extended orders and having to miss, like, the first day of school and things like that. But it's like, yeah, she's like, she's always like, yeah, that was an interesting time, huh? And I'm like, yeah. Or she'll ask me just when they're learning things in, like, history class, or whatever, social studies, or around Veterans Day, she'll, hey, Dad, this was, did you do that? I'm like, well, yeah, kiddo. She's like, oh, okay. And she'll ask, like, a quick question. I'll just tell what it is, but it's like, oh, there's that. And hey, if you want to know more, I'm here for you. And she's like, I'm good right now.
Yeah, I really think that's really valuable, not to get therapy, too much today, but I think that's valuable to recognize that, when we identify ourselves our identity it's made up of many different things, right?
Right.
And so,
Right.
sure, we are veterans, and
Yes.
I think that's very valuable. But you're right. When you get immersed in that and define yourself all as one thing, then that can really be all-consuming. And so you said it right. Like the number one protective factor against burnout, no matter what it is, whether it's a job-related stress, veteran-related stress, whether it's whatever it is, right, is just identifying positive, joyful experiences that are separate from the stressor.
Yep.
It's the number one protective factor against burnout, right? And so it doesn't mean you have to let go of your identity or that you're becoming someone other than yourself, but you can't be dialed into it. So that isolation,
Yep.
right, that talking about it all the time, not sleeping, being in your feels alone, like it becomes so overwhelming and so pervasive that is where some of the really not so great things that vets and first responders do or choose to reach towards just to make it stop.
Yeah.
And so we do have to continue to have these conversations, but we do have to continue to remember that it's not our identity. The difficulties we're having are not our identity. They're a thing we're working or dealing with, but they don't become our
Sure.
identity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
A father, a husband. You said I was a son, a friend.
It's all
part of it. And some of
them.
them are good, and some
Yeah.
of them at
Yeah.
certain times may be stressful.
Yeah.
But
it's all-
we got to remember it's a balance. Otherwise,
Right.
we'll just be all in it, and that's what we're hopeful that we can help some folks get out. So we got some stuff coming up, right?
We do.
We have
We
some
do.
really cool. One of which we just kind of suggested, so we'll just skip to it. I mean, you've been working this, Reggie, so let us know about just an opportunity again to not therapy, not talk about it, but kind of break out of the house. Weather's getting warm, and it's going to be around some good food too, and that can't ever be
You say not therapy. As a good doctor, you can sit there and say
That's
that.
this is you said a meet and greet. This is just a social gathering.
It is. But here's the reality of it.
It is therapy in
It's
some
therapy,
way.
and I love to sit there and call it because sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves
We
while
do.
taking care of others.
We do.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's the thing. So my therapy is getting out there, socializing,
Yes.
being able to go in
Service,
person,
for sure.
drop in like a parachute. No, I am not. I am a leg, just so you all understand that. But jumping out there and saying, hey, guess what? Let's just see what this person over here is doing is positive in their life. So now we have an event that's coming up, and it's coming up while the weather's getting better. We're going to be doing ACES Barbecue, which is out there in Grantville. We're going to be joining that restaurant out there and having a get-together. And that's going to be co-sponsored out there by Harrisburg Beer and Cigar. We're also looking at bringing ACES trucks, food truck, out to Mechanicsburg, out there to 611. I spoke to Billy about that as well. He's on board with that. Then we have Pat that wants to sit there. And again, we're going to host an event out there at the ACES. And also looking at not just, yes, about the cigars and everything, don't get me wrong, but that's something that the military really is around. It's a social event.
right. It's a
Even if
social
you don't
thing,
sit there and
right.
smoke,
Right.
it's something for us to sit there and
Right.
come
But we'll
out.
be outdoors, so unlike our launch
Breathe
party,
it.
we'll get all sorts of stuff: music,
Take it to
cornhole
bed.
boards. We'll get a
That's
dunk
it.
tank. We're gonna get a dunk tank for Reggie.
There we go.
We'll get all sorts of money for people saying to get Reggie up in
I've been
that.
traumatized by how Mike I'm giving before with the dunk tank.
Yeah, I got a
and eyes in
connection.
the
I
face.
got a connection
I'm
on a
just
dunk
saying.
tank. Just get your Speedo ready,
Ah.
and everybody else get those dollar bills ready.
As soon as I said that, I thought,
Here's
that's
what we'll do,
it was
Reggie.
too.
We'll talk about it when we get into the final details of this. We'll set a goal. And if we raise whatever that goal is, will you commit to a dunk tank in a Speedo?
I am. Oh. I almost had you say speed it.
Okay. We didn't set the amount.
I gotta sit there and worry about my kids
right.
and
Or
what
it
they see on
Your
video.
kids will
later on.
probably
Or
be
it
the
could be like
ones that
tiered,
pay the
like-
most of it.
Or it could be tiered, like this is the dunk tank, and then this is the dunk tank. With
Am
the
I able
speedo.
to buy my own freedom back? That's
Yes,
what I need to know.
that's
Let's
what I was
go
going to
back
say. Because here's the thing. Once you set that, you can by all means raise the same amount of money to get out of
Okay,
it.
that's
All
what I
right.
need to know right there.
All right.
That's what
I'll even throw my pasty ass up in there
Okay,
too.
dude,
All right.
that's
All right. Anyway, but hey, here's a
Okay.
chance to come out, right? Get out,
Yeah.
get some spring cleaning, emotionally spring cleaning, right? Like bust out some of that rust that we may have. I'll make sure we get Heroes Unheard Foundation Speedos made
Yes,
first.
yes, we're gonna do that.
So, anyway, but yeah, here's an opportunity to kind of knock off some of that rust, right?
Yes.
Get out and about, weather's warming. Just about being like-minded folks, volunteers, veterans, first responders, again, organizations. We'll hopefully pull in some organizations that support it. It'll just be a really good family day too. We'll just make sure that the kids aren't around when the Speedos come out.
That's
And,
about the video, buddy. It's about the video. It's not the
We'll make sure the producer's there doing a live podcast of the whole thing.
throwing this man.
Yeah, we'll have people throwing money in from online. Anyway, we're figuring it out, but that's an opportunity
We're
to
gonna
come
work it
out.
out. We're gonna work it out.
That's an opportunity to come out and about, so that's a really great thing
Yes.
that we're working. We'll have more details as we get them squared away. Whether, like I said, it's breaking. We'll get out there soon. Just another opportunity to get some folks together. More about meet and greet than raising money, but we'll make it happen. So that's a super great thing while we're talking about some of that recreational therapy component. So I appreciate that. Anything else for you, Reggie? Anything that you got today to wrap up?
Yeah, I do. We're leaving this month, and we're going into the month of what? April, right?
Yep.
So we got the month of April coming up.
We got a
And
couple things coming
We also
up.
have these Easter baskets. If you want to sit down and elaborate,
Yep.
we got the Easter basket that are coming up in the communities, and we're dealing with the first responders and the veterans that are out there mainly. We're trying to hit the first responders out there because they do so much, especially in New York. We want to be able to reach out to those guys and say, guess what? We do care.
Yeah, so definitely. Thanks. So just a couple of reminders or just some
Yes.
updates coming up in April that's going on. We're looking forward to having Veterans Outreach meeting with us. So in one of our episodes in April, they're going to talk to us a little bit about their mission, some of the great things they've got going on. We're playing in one of their golf tournaments later this summer.
Yes.
So vets helping vets, just all kinds of sort of things. So they're going to talk a little bit about what they have going on, how they support the community, some of their events. So that's coming up in April. I'm working a thing right now. I've been keeping you kind of in the dark a little bit.
That's
but
okay. I like this.
I've got a couple.
Peekaboo.
But this is your money. Hard at work. This is your
Right.
this is your foundation. Your guys hard at work. Something that's been really important for me is for folks that are trying to reach out to treatment, whether it's rehab or mental health treatment. Sometimes where our pets go is a really big thing for them, and we don't have a lot of support. So I got something in the works. I got a follow-up meeting this week with some really tremendous folks that we're trying to get together a program through the foundation in the local area and surrounding area that if that's in need for a vet or a first responder, that we're going to identify some boarding to support that.
That's good.
Yeah, so more details to come, and once we get that squared away, we'll likely have them on the show so they can talk a little bit about the clinic the kennel that they already have. A lot of great things here. They do partner vets and first responders that do have PTSD with dogs for no cost and train for them to become service dogs. They can either be service dogs prior to the pairing or it can be a process together. So that'll be an arm of it. Boarding for treatment will be an arm of it. And even some opportunities. We talked about like getting back and giving back service. I know a lot of folks too. I shared this in my story that when I came back from the military, I just felt that lack of connection. Like I'm like, what am I doing? And that's what made me super lean back into my first responder department. I needed to get back involved, right? So for some, leaving the military or retiring from the first responder service can be the same thing. So we're looking at opportunities maybe to volunteer at the kennel too, right? Bring your dog, meet with other first responders as they're new to the program and do like an orientation, help feed the dogs, walk the dogs, clean the kennel. So there's a lot of different arms that we're trying to build a program. So I'm excited to have that meeting this week, and as we hash out some more details, look for it. So that's hopefully coming soon, and if we can square that all away, we'll have some guests. But what do we have right now? You alluded to it. This is super exciting. It's not exciting for why we're somewhat the reasons why we're doing it, but I'm excited to do what we're doing.
It
So
is exciting.
I've shared that through some of the things that I do. I sit with first responders after critical incidences in the York Memorial Hospital. I had an opportunity to sit with many different teams that responded to that. And one of those teams was Northern York County Regional Police Department. One of their officers was one of the ones that was injured. He's doing well. But I had an opportunity to sit with some of their officers shortly after and hear a little bit of how they're doing and how it impacted them, as well as their families. This was one of those incidents that we don't typically always get to do another debrief or a group with spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends, and parents, and this one we did. And just hearing their stories. So I reached out to Reggie, said, well, we're going to do this Easter basket thing. I wanted to anyway, but I wanted to make sure we dedicated some to them, and they've reached out. The chief has been amazing down there, and we got a number. So we're trying to compile some donations, whether it's safe goodies, right, candy, toys, or supplies or financially through our website. I'm sorry, through our Facebook page. If you follow us at Heroes Unheard Foundation Facebook page, there's a link in there that you can donate money so that we can gather. We're shooting for between 50 or 60 baskets across some of the different folks that we've already committed to, as well as wanting to open that up for anybody else that reaches out to us in need of a basket for this Easter. If you're going through any hardships and you're really worried or stressing about how you're going to be able to do that for your kiddos, please reach out to us and see if we can assist. And so, again, yes, there's a really great picture of it. It's on our Facebook page. There's a link there. There's a couple different denominations of donations and how many baskets that it will be earmarked for or sponsored for. So if you can help us out, that's the first thing we need right now. As we get a little bit closer, folks, we'll put out on Facebook as well and talk to folks. We'll need help in an assembly line putting these bad boys together.
Yes.
So once we compile all the supplies, if you're not able to help financially, but you can with some manpower, we'll have a time and a place to put them together. And then once we schedule when we're going to drop them off, we may need some help with some extra hands delivering these things too. So
Yes.
a lot of opportunities, but I'd really like to make this successful. Again, your donations, your support of our organization, on the boots on the ground, helping our community. And these folks meeting with those officers, those heroes that day, the family that is the heroes at home. It was really a phenomenal. I mean, these folks, what they did that day was just nothing short of heroic. So let's support them as they're going through the impacts of what they're going through and the recovery that some of them are going through, as well as our community. So again, that's on our social media at Heroes Unheard Foundation. We'll post that again. We'll get it on the podcast too, and I do need to get it up on the website, www.heroesunheard.org. So plenty of places to make some donations if you can, or if you have some manpower that you can give us when we need it.
Manpower. Hippie, Paula, Jilly, you all are committed to building these baskets.
We need some Easter
Just
bunnies.
saying,
what?
let's put it out there. Just a quick reminder to remind them.
And if we reach a certain amount of donations, I will make Reggie dress as an Easter bunny to deliver these baskets. So just think again,
Woo!
if we reach our goal, we're getting Reggie in an Easter bunny costume that I have to pick, and we're making him deliver these baskets in it. So let's do this. Let's make this successful. Reach out if you can help in any way. Again, if you want to go buy safe candy, and have connections with that and drop a whole bulk candy off to us, please reach out to us. You can reach out to us at foundation@heroesunheard.org.
Yes.
You can reach out through our Facebook page or Instagram page, which is Heroes Unheard Foundation. We also have Heroes Unheard podcast, so many different ways to reach out to us. And that's all I got. I mean, April, the weather's cracking. It sounds like we got a busy month coming up, brother.
It is, and I'm waiting for June. I'm gonna say this right quick, just so, because I like to speak things out there and hopefully come to fruition. So I got one of my buddies, right, and she's going through this PGA course. Now, the intent, once she gets the certification, then she becomes the PGA instructor. We're gonna get her involved. That way you can get out there, because that golfing and stuff like that, even though if you're just a hacker that couldn't blades of grass, I promise you that is one of the worthwhile things that are out there that's going to get you. For those people that not just want to go out to eat, there's golfing and stuff we're going to sit there and get involved with as well. So that's contingent, though. That is contingent.
I've got some friends that might assist being some caddies for that event.
Yes!
And we
Yes.
got Billy's looking and talking about a skeet shoot this fall. We're still
Yes.
talking about a gala maybe later this year.
Oh, the gala's going to happen
I
this
mean,
summer.
we've got some really great stuff. So I just want to let you guys know we're not just podcasting and asking for your money. We're out there on the ground meeting some folks, trying to find some guests, getting the mission out. We're bringing some stuff for your first responders too. So just hang tight. I know we've been talking some vets. If I can get this, we can get this program off about the boarding. I think that's just a phenomenal stamp already so quickly. So we're at first quarter. We're doing some pretty good stuff. We've had some good episodes. We've had some good events. We're making some good connections. And I don't think that's going to slow down in the second quarter. So let's keep ramping up in April. And let's keep our target on Easter. And we'll move forward from that.
That's it.
Mike, brother, I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry that we got you in trouble with your wife, but that's kind of your fault.
It always is.
All right, this is Reggie
Call
and
it what
Tony.
it is.
This is Reggie and Tony coming at you from the Voice 17104 studio. We'll see you next month, everybody. Keep in touch.
Yeah, Mike. Make sure Lauren knows that wasn't me.